Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Sun Prairie Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Bill Baker, and glad to have you here today. I'm trying to... What's going on? Okay, now we got it. Wow, a different button was pushed there. Sorry about that, you guys. A little bit of a delay on that. Again, I'm Bill Baker, your host for the Sun Prairie Real Estate Show. Glad to be here this beautiful hump day. And as we wait for our co-host Laura Stanfield to get in here, we can just get caught up a little bit. You're listening to 103.5 WLSP, The Sun, right here in beautiful Sun Prairie. We are underwritten by those wonderful folks at the Bank of Sun Prairie, the Baker Realty Group, and of course, Wintrust Mortgage. Interesting times in real estate right now, and if you're watching the news at times, it's probably going to drive you a little batty because they're so negative. Everything, the market's going to crash, the bubble is happening, and things like this, and that is really not the case here in Sun Prairie or Wisconsin. We've actually had a pretty interesting month in the way of June, and I've got those numbers and those stats, and we'll go over those soon. We're going to talk today about the numbers from June. We're going to talk about the the second quarter numbers, and then we're also going to talk about a little bit of an idea that was going on that's called the new model that aims to provide housing for hard-hit middle class that comes out of California, and we're going to chat about that a little bit. But the housing market, folks, is, like I said, we're doing pretty good here. We are very conservative in the way of our activities and things that are going on, and when we compare this with our market to, say, Madison or DeForest, Columbus, Bristol, Windsor, we're not at times leading the pack, but we're not at the bottom of that. Now, what am I talking about? So if I wanted to share that, the number of houses that are on the market, that have gone on the market, well, we're going to have some negative numbers because we know that the market has changed. It's shifted, as we call in the industry. And hi, Laura.
Sorry. Good morning.
I don't even know which mic you're on. There's one up top there too.
Wow, there's mics everywhere. This is 3.
3?
Mm-hmm.
All right, there you go. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome back. So what I was saying while she gets situated is that we know there's been an adjustment. We know that the number of homes that are coming out of the market are less than what they have been in previous years. But let's just look at this for a minute. The one community that's had the largest reduction in homes coming on the market for sale is Fitchburg. They've had a 56% reduction over the first 2 quarters, year to date, from 2021. DeForest is second with 30%. Columbus is down 20%. Sun Prairie's only down 13% year to date compared to last year.
Homes on the market.
Homes on the market, which is, I think, kind of cool. In the way of pricing percentages, we're sitting about the middle of the pack with about a 9.5% increase in home values compared to same period of time last year, the year to date, from January to June. But then you get companies. You get communities like Columbus, 21% appreciation, Fitchburg at 18, Cottage Grove at 12, Windsor at 10. Now I threw the MLS in there, Laura, because it's at 10%. And we're actually trending below the MLS, which I think is fun. Madison, their price percentage reduction was at 8.96 minus 8.96.
Really?
They've actually had a reduction on it. But when people tell us about the community and how expensive it is to live in Sun Prairie, let me tell you that we are not at the top of the list. We are closer to near the bottom of the list in the way of pricing. And again, year-to-date numbers, if I look at this average, Bristol's the highest at 558. Fitchburg at 477,000. Cottage Grove comes in at 477. Windsor at 473. Dane County is higher than us. All of Dane County, 462. Madison, 434. And then we get to us at 399, which is kind of cool. But
so if there is affordable housing, maybe there's more of that in Sun Prairie than
it's more affordable.
In Dane County.
Exactly, it's more affordable than you would assume in other places that are out there. But so that wonderful voice you hear that snuck into the station got tied up, like the traffic jam, and that they gotta get those stoplights changed down on Main Street for you.
Construction loan closing today.
Construction loan.
Yeah, happening.
Did you have a challenged closing?
Well, I don't think it will be. It's not happened yet. It'll happen at 2.
Uh-oh.
So,
Did you have to postpone it?
No.
Oh.
No. It'll be fine.
Oh.
It's good.
Okay. How are closings going? Are they pretty smooth in the last month or two, or are you seeing a bit more challenges? I mean, we know we had one where a buyer decided to go more part-time than full-time, which really threw his numbers off, but
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, like everybody's in a different situation, right?
Yeah.
No, there is no one size fits all in our world, but we try to educate people along the way and try to tell them what you should and shouldn't do to make it a smoother process. But this guy in particular that you're talking about, he just kind of had a newer job and not a lot of vacation time, and somebody got sick, and they have, 5 kids?
Yeah.
Good Lord. So, I mean, he did what a good father should do.
Absolutely.
To try to keep the rest of his family safe and healthy. So he had to take some time off work. But in situations like that, when you're average, your income is not, the numbers aren't working out for what the year-to-date is showing, it can sometimes cause a problem with the income that a lender can use. So, yeah, we figured it out. Somehow, miraculously, we figured it out and still got him closed. On time.
On time.
Woo!
And I know everybody was happy. It was just a wonderful party. I liked it.
It was fun.
But you know, there are a lot of unique things that are going on out there. I mean, we know this situation, and let's just stress this right now for everybody. I know you tell them 100 times. I tell them 100 times. Once you have an accepted offer, do not do anything to jeopardize that, like opening up a new credit card that just came in the mail, or buying a bass boat, or on credit, or anything that is going to jeopardize your sale. And what I like to say is, when in doubt, ask Laura. Just ask her. She'll tell you if you can do this or if you can't do this. Don't go buy a new car. Don't buy the furniture before you close on the house. And we see this all the time.
You can wait on the furniture.
Yeah,
it's okay. There aren't deals that are that fantastic.
No.
4th of July deals, I don't know.
No.
Labor Day deals coming up.
I know.
Ignore that stuff.
Ignore it.
Wait until you're
Just
in
don't
your
do
house. Just don't do it.
Just don't.
Don't apply for credit. Even it's okay. We can sometimes get past it, but just don't even apply for credit, because then we have to verify if you have a payment and a balance. Is that going to change your numbers?
Right.
You have to explain why you inquired. Because an inquiry will show up on your credit report. And how do we know that? Because we do checks throughout the process. Yeah. We have to. We're required to.
Right.
So we do what's called a soft look into your credit just before you close. It's not a hard pull, but we need to be sure that nothing major has changed with your credit before you close. So.
Yeah, I agree. Just be smart about it.
Ask questions, like you said. Just ask.
Just ask.
Before you do it.
Sure.
Ask. Is this going to impact me at all? What if I sell my truck? What if, good luck selling your truck, by the way, right now.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody wants them.
Oh, no, they'll take them.
Oh, well, for maybe 10 grand below book, they'll take them. Nobody wants trucks. I have a client that was trying to sell a truck. So if you would have done this earlier in the year, you could have probably made out like a fat rat on a truck.
Oh,
now,
my gosh.
No, because gas prices are high. It's summer. People aren't really shopping for trucks in the summer. So he has a decent truck, was trying to sell it to get rid of a payment. And he was either offered, no, I don't want it on my lot, I don't need it, it won't sell right now, or I'll do it, but I'll offer you 10 grand below book.
Wow.
Yeah.
Metro Ford just offered me top dollar for my truck.
What do you mean by just?
Just like last week.
What?
They're always calling at wanting my truck. Truck people, F-150 people and all that. I mean, it's not
This
about the
is a
gas.
Chevy. That must be the difference.
It's a Chevy. And well, there you have it.
That's not
F-150's
it.
number
That's
one
not
leading
it.
truck
We
in
checked
the world.
with like 4 dealers, and I checked with one that I know.
Yeah.
Same story all the way around. Nobody wants trucks right now.
Wow. Truck people are different buyers. I mean, we don't buy a truck because of gas prices or I mean, we got to haul stuff. You got to have room. For me, I like the comfort and the ride of an F-150.
Well, and
My
you
first
can
truck too.
move from one house to another if you have a truck, or you can be the guy that everybody calls.
Yeah, no.
Hey, I'm moving.
Yeah, I'm
Can
moving.
we use your truck?
Yeah, when I moved, I went 1-800 Gorilla Movers.
Right, yeah.
And they took care of
I
everything.
know.
But you know that don't go buy that truck on credit. Don't
Please, no.
during your home buying process. If you're in the middle of it, yeah, just don't do it. Ask Laura. When in doubt, go to Laura. I love it.
I like that.
Yeah, and when in doubt, go to Laura. We've had some discussions, you and I have had some discussions, before we get onto the stats and all that, and where there have been some uncomfortable situations that you are aware of, where just the relationship between a buyer and a buyer agent or a realtor just hasn't been going well.
Mm-mm.
And people didn't know how to handle it. And you thought it would be a good idea we talk about this today.
Yeah.
And so let's do that, if that's okay.
Sure. So a couple things that I'm thinking about that have just come up, because we all know it's not news. It's been a tough market for buyers. Not that it's super easy for sellers, but I might argue a little easier than it is for buyers, or has been.
Yeah.
It's truly a seller's market, and it probably will be for a while,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't mean that buyers shouldn't get out there and look, and it doesn't mean that they can't get a fair price on a home. That's not what that means.
Right.
But what I've heard, a couple things I've heard, if a buyer, let's say, needs a different kind of a loan program, so you can't pay cash is king, right? You can't get a conventional loan could be a number of different reasons. Or maybe you're a veteran and you want to utilize a VA loan because it's a great program for veterans. The government loan programs are, if a seller has a choice, they will take cash, conventional, and then government loan, usually,
Right.
in that order. So people who have government loans and don't have any other options right now, I've heard some realtors tell buyers, you shouldn't be in the market right now. You just need to wait. If you have to have a government loan, you're not going to get an accepted offer. Just leave the market, come back in about a year. In my opinion, that's awful advice. But
That's unacceptable advice, also.
it's just not okay. And what does that say to a buyer? You know, like maybe they could buy, but they have a realtor that doesn't want to work for them, advocate for them. Okay, and then I have another.
Well, let me address that for a second.
Yeah.
Just so people know that as a realtor, once I sign that document, as a buyer agent, I work for you.
Yeah.
I don't set the price. I don't tell you what the price is. I'll give you the idea of the prices on an offer, but you make that decision. And if you want to use a VA contract or an FHA contract, we're going to do that because that's what you've instructed me to do.
Right.
I am your representative. And if you have a real estate agent that's telling you no, then you have the wrong agent. We're here for your benefit, and that's the best way to say it. I don't want to, because right now I'm treading a fine line right now because my ethics tell me that I can't go down the path that I want to tell you. I have to be very politically correct and all that and tell you just fire that.
That's really hard for you to do.
Yeah, if you have somebody that's not listening to you and what your needs are in the way of you wanting to buy a house, then make a change.
Yeah.
Fire them.
You can make a change. You might not be able to say this, but I can say this. You sign a buyer agency with your realtor. Presumably you sign a buyer agency, but you need to know what that means, what that contract means. what they're going to do for you, what you can expect from them. You need to have a good relationship back and forth,
Right.
mutual, right?
Yeah.
So, and the realtor, you need to be listening to the realtor. You need to be providing the realtor with the information they need so they can find you the house that's going to work best. And the lender, too, is part of the team.
Right.
Because if you don't have your stuff together, lending-wise, you have to know your loan program. You have to know if there's certain areas you can buy in.
Right.
Per your loan program,
Sure.
you need to know your price range.
Right.
And in this world, you probably need to be looking a little below what your maximum range is to allow for some negotiating room. So we're all part of the same team,
Right.
or we should be. What bothers me is just realtors that say, just give that kind of bad advice, like you're never going to get an accepted offer. Not in this market. You just need to leave. How defeating is that?
And it's unacceptable in my world. It's
Yeah.
unacceptable in
Yes.
that world.
You can
Yeah.
educate people. You can say, because of your loan program, it might make it a little more challenging.
Right.
You might need to wait longer. You
Sure.
might put in 10 offers, 15 offers, and not get one.
Right.
That is all fine. Let people know that. But don't tell them to leave the market. Don't tell them it's impossible. It's not
Sure.
impossible.
Sure.
Just bothers me.
Yeah.
Advocate for your people. And if you don't want to work for them, maybe you're busy. Okay? And maybe you don't have the time to put into people who you're going to work harder as the buyer's agent, no doubt about it.
Right.
But if you can't or don't want to do it, then why don't you refer them to somebody who can and will, who's hungry, who wants it, who just has a genuine need and desire to help and educate people. If that's not you, it's okay.
And if you're a realtor and you're listening to this and you fit this criteria, then maybe you need to think of a different job,
Well,
a different career.
yeah.
Because this is not working. You're not putting your fiduciary responsibility is to your client. Listen to them, but I'm sorry. There's a lot of them out there.
Do you think it's, I guess what my thought is it goes back to why you do what you do.
Right.
What is your why?
Yeah.
If your why is to make hay while the sun shines, so they say, right? So just like pull in a bunch of people, close, it's transactional, not relational.
Right.
So I think that's what it comes down to. We know there's a lot of cherry pickers out there.
There are.
There's some deals that are just hard, and you don't have to take them on. You don't.
Right.
It's your choice. It's your business. But if you can't, just don't give bad advice. Is my point. Give them to somebody who's willing to work hard for them.
Sure.
And if that's not your type of client, it's perfectly fine.
Sure.
Just don't tell them to leave the market.
No. Exactly. That's unacceptable.
That's always been
How
my
many?
advice in my opinion.
Well, how many buyers have you and I worked with where it's been starting with Terry and I think we wrote 8 offers before we got the house, or other people 4, 5, 6 offers. Brett. Oh my gosh!
Yes.
Here's a guy, Brett. I mean, wonderful man, wonderful young man, a veteran with a beautiful family and all that, and just had, I'm going to say it, had terrible representation. Wasn't being given good advice, I think.
It's just hard because that's an example of the loan program.
Yeah.
But it got done. He had a government loan program, but it got done.
Yeah.
Stop telling people that sellers won't accept government loan programs. It's not true.
Right.
I've had accepted offers, government loan program, and down payment assistance.
Yeah, but let's talk about him for a second. He had another representative. He had another buyer agent before I took him. And it just wasn't going well.
He had 2.
He had 2 others before me?
Yeah, because he was also looking in Illinois.
Oh my gosh.
He actually had an accepted offer on a property in Illinois. But I think it wasn't what his family wanted. It wasn't, his kids are big into soccer.
Yeah.
Sun Prairie soccer.
How are you going to drive an hour plus to come to Sun Prairie?
So he felt bad about that.
And he's a soccer coach.
He's a soccer coach, and he's his family's tied to Marshall, Sun Prairie, this whole area.
Yeah.
That's where his family is.
Right.
And the taxes were like insane for the property, for the purchase price. They were like $7,500,
Oh my
something like
gosh.
that. So yeah, he's, for a couple of reasons, he just decided not to. But yeah, he had somebody here he was working with, and then his agent in Illinois, and then he just submitted a cancellation on that, which is, I think, good that he did that.
Well, all right, that's Illinois law, and I don't know Illinois real estate procedures and all that stuff, nor do I ever want to. No, it's different. It's
It
absolutely
is
different.
different.
It
It
is
is very
huge.
different,
Just
yeah.
like Michigan is different.
Mhm.
I'm licensed in Michigan. I'll never use that license. I probably won't renew it when it comes up. But it's different. So if you have an accepted offer on a property, you just can't cancel a transaction.
Yeah.
The first person you're going to call is your attorney. And you're going to talk to your attorney about it, and you're going to say to him that I need out of this transaction. And the attorney is going to tell you what your steps are to do that. And it may cost you something.
So would you say in Wisconsin, let's just, since anybody listening is in Wisconsin,
Yeah.
if somebody has an accepted offer on a property,
Yeah.
because, and I'll bet you this has happened more often than we realize just
Uh-huh.
because of the market we've been in.
Sure.
So there's really a place where I want to live, a neighborhood I want to live in, but there's nothing there.
Right.
And I have to find something.
Uh-huh.
So I choose this one.
Right.
And then after accepted offer, in the neighborhood you want to be in the right price point, something comes on.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh,
Sure.
now what do I do?
Right.
You have no out.
No.
There's no denial for your financing, no appraisal issues, none of that. What would your options be?
Well, the first
Knowing
thing,
you're not an attorney.
I'm not an attorney. I don't
Right.
play one on TV this week. But the first thing you're going to do is you're going to talk to your attorney. You're going to call your attorney.
Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin.
What if you don't have an attorney? You're just working with a realtor.
Well, you have a valid contract in place, and the other party, the seller, is expecting you to complete the agreement that you put forth and signed with them. And so they do have options. I mean, there are remedies, and there are things that can happen if you fail to complete the transaction. It's called fail to perform. It's called fail to perform.
Yeah.
They have a right to really nail you.
So it's not as simple as saying, here, seller,
No.
I want to cancel my contract,
no.
and I realize that I'm going to lose my earnest money.
Now, let me back up for a second. Let me give you an example. And we've had one where the day after we had an accepted offer, we found out that the financial situation changed for the individual, and there was no way that they could buy the house. That became a material adverse fact for me, which a material adverse fact means that they cannot buy that house. And I know it, so I have to disclose it, which I would have anyway. So called the agent, told them exactly what was going on, and we did cancellations of mutual release. That's the only document that will give complete release on everything.
But buyer and seller have to agree to it. And your
Correct.
point is the seller doesn't have to say
They don't.
no.
No.
Even if it means they get to keep the earnest money, they could still say no.
Correct. And it doesn't mean that they'll get to keep the earnest money. The earnest money will be decided by a neutral party if the two parties can't come together. And so it's not always a given, you're getting it, I'm getting it, all this. So you have to really, you got to put it in writing, and you've got to be very clear on it. And this is another reason why I think real estate agents need to talk on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
They need to talk
Yep.
on the phone.
Yep.
None of this texting and emailing stuff. Because when the stuff hits the fan, believe me, you want to have a relationship with that other agent where you can call them and go, or her, and say, hey, this is what's going on, I need your help.
Mm-hmm.
How can we do this, do that, or whatever? And it's
You all should be on the same team.
Yeah, yeah.
The idea is to get buyers and sellers through the transaction as easily
Period.
as possible.
Period.
And happy in the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Win-win
Yeah,
is
yeah.
what we're always looking for.
Absolutely.
Should be.
So,
But again, that speaks to the type of agent,
Right.
right? And what
Exactly.
you're willing to do for your clients.
right.
So I'll share one other example.
Yeah, go
if
ahead.
It's okay?
Sure.
So I have a friend who has to have a home sale contingency.
Okay.
That's where she needs it because she can't qualify without it. Otherwise, you'd have to qualify for both house
Okay.
payments, taxes, insurance, and
Okay.
all that. I'm not telling you, I'm telling people out there
No,
who
I
don't
know.
know. And then your down payment. Where's your down payment and your next one coming from? Well, if it's coming from the completed sale of your home, that's another reason why you might have to have that.
Sure.
There's other ways you can do it, but anyway. So she's found one that she was interested in, and basically the realtor was like, well, let me know when you don't need the home sale contingency. Like,
What?
yeah, like you're not going to get an accepted offer right now if you have a home sale contingency. It's not going to happen. Let me know when that's not necessary. Well, it's necessary. It's necessary, you know? Like, what do you want me to do? I didn't win the lotto
Right.
over the weekend.
No, I get it.
I didn't have a rich relative show up in my
Sure.
life. So it's just another example of, are you listening to your clients? Do you really understand their needs?
Uh-huh.
And then if you're not willing to advocate for them, what's wrong with putting an offer in with a home sale contingency and maybe finding another way to help her stand out?
Right.
Why not? It doesn't mean it's going to work.
Sure.
But that's got to be better than just saying no.
So may I share with you what I would do?
Yes.
So, and when I have that sale contingency has been an issue because, I mean, transactions are happening like bam, they're done. And cash has been king, but as we've proven to you on this show, cash is not the leading source of payment for houses in Sun Prairie. It's a conventional mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going on. So what I do is I call the agent and I talk to them. And I explained to them that I'm submitting an offer. We have a house or a sale contingency. Here's where the house is located. Here's the price point that I'm looking to price the house. I give them full disclosure on everything that I'm allowed to share with them, and to give them a feeling of security, of comfort.
Confidence that the house is going to sell.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's in an area that will sell fast. And then I may have a backup plan and say, if it doesn't sell within the first 4 days, we'll reduce it $10,000 or X dollars or whatever to show them what my plan is in being able to get the transaction to go through.
That, right there.
Right.
Why don't I hear more people talking about this? Why isn't, there's like no creativity in how to get your buyers accepted offers.
You and I have talked.
Why don't you repeat that again about the thing about if it doesn't sell within X number of days?
Sure.
How does that protect the seller?
Well, how does it protect the seller? I'm giving the confidence to you mean the seller of the property we're buying? Yeah. Okay, so it just gives the agent, who's their advocate, comfort to know that there's a plan in place. Here's the property, here's where it's located, here's the price point. They can go in and check it. But even during that conversation, I'm going to say I pulled comps. We're right at market value. We're below market value. Whatever. Blah blah blah. And then I could share them and go, if we don't have an accepted offer within the first 3-4 days, week, 7 days, whatever, we'll do a price reduction of X.
Mm-hmm. There's ways.
Sure.
There are, but you really have to advocate. She's at a point where she's like, you know what, my fault. I have a buyer agency with this realtor, but did I really read it? Like,
what's that mean?
What are her responsibilities to me?
Oh, what are her duties to you?
Yeah.
And I think there's two parts to this. What are my duties? What are the duties of the buyer agent to the buyer? And then also, am I locked into this contract for how long, and what does that really mean?
Yeah. Read your contracts before you sign them.
Right.
You know what the realtor's answer was?
Uh-oh. What?
So, and I'm not going to say who, and you can't get me to say who.
Okay.
But there is a lender out there who has a program, and this is just what I've understood.
Okay.
Because we actually at Wintrust, not me, but a coworker of mine had this situation come up with a client. It was our client. Realtor was referred to this other lender because the lender has a program that helps them basically offer in cash.
Oh.
But it's an 8% 1 year ARM with a 1% non-refundable origination fee. So there's always stuff.
So what's that mean? What did you just say? Because most people are like, oh, blah, 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 blah. All they heard was blah, 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 blah.
Right.
They
It's
did.
a high interest rate, adjustable rate mortgage for 1 year.
Okay.
So after that, your rate can change.
Okay.
Can adjust. And then there's a 1% non-refundable origination fee. So meaning, let's say you bought a $400,000 house, you'd have to pay 1% of that non-refundable upfront.
$4,000.
Just to be able to do this deal.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway.
How long does it take to do that deal? Is it like instantaneous? Is it a week? Is it 2 weeks?
It's basically like a private investor behind that has the money to put up. And it isn't just, there's a couple lenders that are jumping on this bandwagon. There's a real estate company in Madison too that's doing the same thing. Same thing. So it's a private investor putting money into it. I think in most cases, I can't speak for all. And it's right. So if I'm going to put some skin in the game, you are too. If I'm going to put up my money to do this, there's risk for me. So I'm going to charge a little higher interest rate. I'm going to give you 1 year, and I'm going to charge you a fee.
Yeah.
For you to be able to
Right.
use my money.
Wow.
I mean, that's kind of how loans work anyway.
Okay.
Right?
So they do that. Now, are they now a cash buyer? How long does that process
So
take?
now
them?
they're a cash buyer. Yes, so they can close quicker, they can do cash, they're just gonna have to pay for it. So is that a good fit for you? Maybe. We had a client
And
come
then you
back-
refi immediately,
And what are the fees involved in the refi?
you're going to have your appraisal fee.
And anyway,
you're going to
now
have
it's
your
a
admin
refi.
fee. Oh, it's a refi.
Because you bought it, so it's now deeded in your name, right? So if you want to get out of this arm, you have to refinance out of it. Anyway, the terms are just different for purchases and refinances. That's a
Okay,
whole other
all right.
show. But anyway, so I mean, maybe is it a good fit for you? I don't know. We had a client come back to us and say, "My fault. I didn't read. I didn't understand what I was doing. Can you help me
Wow.
get out of this?"
Wow.
No, we can't. You already
Wow.
paid it. You did it. It's done. Sorry.
Wow.
But so then anyway, back to this friend of mine, the realtor's answer to her was, well, here, I have a lender that can help you offer cash. So why don't you call this lender and just do it that way instead? Like, I'm not going to take on any responsibility. I'm not going to find ways for you to get accepted offers. I'm going to go with whatever's easy.
Oh
So
my gosh.
you go with, and she was really offended. She's like, you know, I have a lender that I've been working with, and I'm not changing, and I'm offended that you would tell me to go work with somebody else. And by the way, do you even know the terms, this lender's terms that you're telling people to go
Wow.
do? So anyway,
Wow.
just advocate for your people.
Yeah.
Don't always look for the easy
Yeah.
way out. Your buyers, your sellers are paying attention to that stuff. And
Yeah.
maybe you only care about, like, right now. I'm going to make as much money as I can right now.
Yeah.
I don't care about relationships.
Right.
I don't care what you think about me a year
Sure.
or two down the line.
Right.
Okay, that's your thing.
Right.
But just don't give bad advice.
Right.
That's
Well,
all I want to say.
I appreciate what you just said. I mean, because that happens more often than people realize out there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's important to work with a quality, ethical, and moral realtor. How do you know that? Because people will tell you.
And lender.
A lender especially. Oh my gosh. I mean, and I'll tell you the exact same thing about them. If it's a bad egg, trust me, I'll tell you. I'll share the experience with you.
Mm-hmm.
Here's something I want you to know, and the real estate form has been changed recently, but when you have an accepted offer, do you know that commission is due?
Huh?
When all the contingencies are done, commission is due. If you read the wording in it, it'll tell you. But traditionally, what we do is we get paid at closing. And so the wording has been changed in the offer to purchase now. It says payable at closing.
Ah,
It's always
I didn't
successful.
know it said anything different. It's
Uh-huh.
just always been that way, so
Right.
I assumed.
So the question you also, I know you were asking me this earlier, is can I fire my real estate agent? And we've had this discussion before. Peter Zaroff has been in studio. Yes, the answer is yes, you can, because a real estate transaction is a service agreement. It's a service agreement, so it allows you to do that. Now, it doesn't mean there won't be, there may not be some cost involved with it. I'll give you an example. If you're a listing, if you're selling your home and they've already taken care of the marketing and photographs and all that stuff outside of what is normal, then yes, they should be reimbursed for that.
But that all has to be outlined in the buyer agency contract.
That's
doesn't it?
that's a listing agreement. In the
Listing.
buyer agency, I have never, ever, ever asked my buyers for commission.
But they could, as
They
long
could.
as it's in the contract.
As long as
So
it's in the
again,
contract,
read.
read it. In my contracts, it says in bold that the buyer will never incur any cost associated with a commission related to the transaction.
There you go.
Now, the reason I do that is, first of all, I don't want them to have to pay because I'm being paid by the way, commissions are paid by the seller right now. So what I mean by that is actually they're not being paid by the seller, they're being paid by the selling brokerage. So a commission is discussed, a percentage is given, an amount is given. The listing broker is the one that will actually pay the buyer agent or the buyer agent's broker. It's always broker to broker, never agent to agent.
So the seller knows that they're paying, let's say, because of the listing contract, 6%.
Correct. Let's use that number.
They just use 6%.
Correct.
Okay, and so then the listing broker is the one that decides what percentage the buyer's agent is going to be given at closing.
Maybe. And it's spelled out in the listing contract. So if the total amount is 6%, I share in my presentations that I'll give half the commission away to a buyer's agent. But the seller could go, no, I want you to give more than half. Instead of that 6, they could say, I want you to give 4%, or I want you to. We see this all the time in Johnson Creek, Rock County, and all that stuff, where they're going 2.4, 2.6%, which is, I don't think is right.
A lot of times the buyer gets less, right?
Correct.
And the listing agent gets more.
Right.
Yeah, and I would agree in this market, I would think in this market, buyer's agents work harder than listing agents.
They do.
I don't know, maybe
No,
that's
I'm
fair,
with you.
maybe that's
I
not.
agree.
But either way, I don't
Great.
know why a buyer's agent would get paid less. But it's a thing outside Dane County in particular.
Right. So let me tell you why I want you to know this, because it's in the contract, in the listing agreement, how the commission is going to be split out. It's in writing. A contract has been established. So you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you think, and I know people have done this because I've worked with them. One is a good friend of mine, and he thought this way. He's a financial whiz kid. If you go directly to the listing agent and not use a buyer's agent, it does not necessarily save money for the seller because it's already in a contract. The set amount is in there. The disbursement of how that would go to a buyer agent is there. If there's
Unless it's a FSBO, that might be a different situation.
That could
for
be.
sale by owner.
Correct. You're very good. Man, you're good at this. You must have done it a couple of years. But it gets confusing, and you still need to have a buyer agent. Here's what I'll tell you about buyer agency, is that there's going to be a time when the two of you are not going to click. I've had it happen in 17 years, more than once. You just don't have a good feel for each other. And you know when it's time to say, hey, look, let's just talk. Let me get you somebody else.
It's not you.
Right.
It's me.
Right, exactly.
It's any relationship, right? It just doesn't always work, and that's
Right.
okay.
Right.
That's just humans.
I had one where I got a referral and for this to buy a house and to sell a house, and we were in this market already, and it was going to be a $500,000 purchase, $500,000 sale, and the lady didn't, the client that I had at the time, didn't like how aggressive I was.
Ooh.
I know. And I said, well, I don't understand. She goes, you're pushing me to buy this house.
Ooh.
And I said, I am so sorry that you feel that way. I am not trying to get you to buy anything. If you don't buy anything, I'm okay with that also. I said, but if you want to buy this house, I'm telling you how we have to buy this house and the time frame.
And urgency
And
in
urgency.
a market like this
Right.
is huge.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to buy it, that's fine, but just know you'll probably
Right.
lose out on it. And that's not a salesy, gimmicky thing. You have to be comfortable with what you're doing.
Right.
But you also need to understand that you have to act fast
Exactly.
in certain markets,
We
like
do.
this one.
Yeah, we do. But you can fire your agent. Now, here's the process that you need to follow on this. First of all, you got to talk to the agent, and you got to tell them you want out of the contract. All right? You also talk to an attorney. Your attorney would be the first person because you're about to break a contract, and you cannot unilaterally do that. So you have to talk with the agent. Tell them it's not working. Believe me, if you're having this conversation with a real estate agent, they know it's not working already. And they should let you you should both agree that you'll end that contract. Now, some companies like Stark, First Weber, you have to go to their broker to get approval for this. What the broker may do is the broker may just say, hey, why don't I get another agent, one of my other realtors, to do this.
Mm-hmm.
That's still your choice. You don't have to do that. And sometimes it'll work.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it won't. But you can go down that path. But of the brokers that I know that are out there, they'll release the contract.
Just because it's not good
It's not good business.
No.
No.
It's not going to be a good relationship
No.
because it's a forced one at that point.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody wants that.
No. No.
There are some, right? Some brokers that charge transaction fees
Yeah, that's
for
wrong.
buyers.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, they do. They charge you a $295, $495, $995 transaction fee, and they're expecting you to pay that on top of the commission. I don't agree with that practice. I will not do that.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you I have done that in the past. Not in this market. Oh my
Well,
gosh, not
and
in this
sometimes
market.
the agent might agree to pay it out of their commission if the broker requires it, but they
Yeah.
don't like it. I mean, there's ways, but
Why would a broker put that taxation on their realtors? And realtors, if you're out there and your broker's doing it, run.
yeah.
You're sitting over
Well,
here
it's
going, oh my gosh, I
uncomfortable.
can't believe I'm saying this.
No, I just remember when it came up at a particular brokerage in Madison, and I don't think
Years ago?
Yes. I don't think any agents were happy about it.
No.
None of them were,
No.
and it was awkward. And what would be his title? The managing broker?
Operating
The
principal.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, he wasn't going to have it any other way, but he created a lot of unhappy agents because I think they were just uncomfortable asking their buyers to pay a fee. Nobody wants to do that.
Right.
And a lot of what we just said it, right?
Yeah.
Usually as a buyer, you don't pay.
Sure.
The seller pays.
Yeah.
So anyway, just read your contracts is the thing. I have one other question on a buyer contract. What if a buyer isn't quite sure about the relationship and they just want to give it a little bit more time? Can they do a transactional buyer agency? Can you do a one-day buyer agency?
Sure.
Can you do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I cannot, as a real estate agent, help you with the process. I have to represent somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to have a buyer agency agreement.
Mm-hmm. Or not, but then you're working for the seller and the buyer needs to understand the difference.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I have, can we talk about that for a minute?
Sure.
Okay. So why do you want to have buyer agency? Let me tell you this. It's all about loyalty and confidentiality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If I have an agreement with a buyer agency, then my loyalty is all to you, that buyer agent, not to the seller.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have that document, then I'm kind of floating in the middle, but I'm closer to the seller, the selling agent, selling brokerage.
Because why?
Because all contracts kind of float that way. I mean,
And the seller
that's
pays your
agency.
commission.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And so, but that buyer agency document allows me to do a lot of things. Now, let me give an example of this. So, if the seller were to say that, how can I? Okay, I'm a buyer agent, and I'm going to go and I'm going to write an offer on a property. If I have a buyer agency agreement, the buyer agent can say to me, "We're going to offer $300,000, but we'll go to $350." Because of that agreement, I cannot go back to the seller and go, they'll go to $350.
But if you don't have a buyer agency, you wouldn't just offer that, would you?
No, but I
if
could
they
have that
asked you,
conversation. Sure, I could have
How
that
high
conversation.
can they go?
Right.
Then you could share that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or I could say it the other way. If I have a buyer agency agreement and I'm working with a seller for sale by owner, this happens all the time. And they say, well, we've got it listed at $300,000, but if we need to, we'll go to to $275. And okay, cool. Good to know. Good to know. I can immediately go back to my client and tell them exactly what was just said.
What about having knowledge about a property?
Oh.
Something about a property that,
What do you mean?
I don't know. There's some examples out there, aren't there?
If I have knowledge of a defect, material
Should be on
adverse
the real
fact,
estate condition report.
or an adverse fact, I have to identify it. Absolutely. I mean, when I'm showing people
With
call
or
it
without a contract?
with or without a contract. We have knowledge.
Ethics.
Yes.
Ethics.
So as of so when I'm going to show a house, and I'm touring the house. I'm not a tour guide. I'm looking at walls. I'm looking at ceilings. I'm looking at electrical boxes. I'm looking at the wall around the basement to see if it's wet. Is there any wet spots? I'm looking for GFIs. I'm looking for different types of insulation if we're up in the attic. I'm looking for a lot of things that are considered defects.
But here's another way that realtors are very different.
What?
How many realtors just say, you know what, there's going to be an open house. The houses that you like are having an open house this weekend. And maybe sometimes this is okay, but you also have to, as a realtor, like what if your client goes through, you just say, go through the open house, tell them you're working with me.
Uh-huh.
By the way, do you have to sign in if you tell the agent at the open house that you're represented? Do you have to sign in?
I don't know that answer, but I would say it's still good practice to sign in and then put down there represented by. So
But you can't force people to do that,
No,
right?
you cannot.
There's an example recently of
you
a
cannot
realtor
force
that
anybody
said,
to sign in.
I cannot show you this home unless you sign in.
Unless it's stipulated in the listing agreement.
Then that should be there, present, right, by the sign-in sheet?
Sure.
Okay.
Good
I just
practice.
thought it was odd. First of all, I don't think you're really showing, it's an open house.
Well, but you got to sign in. So if the seller stipulates that everybody must sign in, then they have to sign in.
Then I think you're creating a lot of Jane Smith, here's my number, 608-123-4567. You know, I don't know. That's a whole. That's
I've
always
had
been
this
a thing.
situation. I've honestly had this situation, and I've watched people sign. I have.
Some fictitious name, maybe.
Yeah, and I'll say, is that really your name? I have.
Yes.
Just-
My name is Sam Smith. Do
Right.
I not look like a Sam Smith? What are you saying? Why are you judging me? Anyway, it's just, there's different ways that agents do things, and I hope what people take away from this is questions to ask agents. So if you're taking me through a property, how do you do that? Do you just, sit there while I walk around?
No.
What are you doing? How are you helping me? If I put in an offer,
Wow.
how are you helping me stand out?
Absolutely.
What kind of verbiage, all this stuff.
Mhm.
How do you help me find a house?
Yeah.
The house that's right for me.
Yeah.
You
Look
get
at-
to ask that.
Well, using Brett as an example, we got that contract because we gave them 30 days of occupancy at no charge.
See?
I mean, those are just some of the
It
strategies.
was a win-win.
Right.
If you've got a good realtor, your realtors both are looking for a win-win.
And
For
but
you,
people,
the seller, everybody.
but people are saying, how do you know?
Well, it's communication. It's asking questions, right? What
Uh-huh.
do your sellers need?
Right.
When do they need to be out?
Sure.
Do they need a quick closing, a long closing?
Right.
What are they looking for?
Right. I like when people, and this is in 17 years, it might have happened twice, but I see it on Facebook all the time. They'll say, well, how many houses have you sold? A lot. Or they'll say, well, I just started. I mean,
In 17 years.
oh my gosh, I know. But the thing here to know about that is that doesn't matter. It's the comfort level you have with the individual, and you got to interview them. You're selling your biggest asset in your life. Interview them. In fact, I would tell you the companies that sell a lot of homes are the ones that you got to be weary of, because it's like a puppy mill. They're just making them boom, boom, boom.
They may be the cherry pickers.
They're
and
transactional.
Transactional people,
Right.
absolutely
Right.
not. And I'm thinking about something, I've said this before, but my mom sold real estate. So I grew up in this world.
Uh-huh.
And I heard her say over and over again she was so frustrated by realtors who did it as a part-time job. So,
Right.
just like I could make a little extra cash on
Yeah.
the side if I just, but that might be okay. They might still take their job very seriously.
Uh-huh.
I think her frustration was realtors that come in and maybe they say they've done it for 17 years, but really how much are you invested in this as a profession?
Right.
How seriously do you take it?
Uh-huh.
And do you make the rest of us look bad because you don't put the time and effort into it and really listen to your clients?
The highest number of claims on our insurance are made by people that have been in the business the longest.
Ah, why, you get lazy?
Errors and omissions
Yeah.
insurance. I think it's because they get lazy. I hate to say that, or you just
Maybe they're checked out.
could be.
You know what, I've done really well in this business. Right
Right.
now, I'm really just like closing deals so I can pay for my vacation home.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm out of here in a couple of years.
I run into those guys. Hey, we've got about 10 minutes left, 9 minutes left. I want to give you some information. So if you're out there and you're getting ready to sell your house, or if you're getting ready to buy a house, you need to hear this, okay? Sun Prairie, for June, we came in pretty strong. I mean, the number of solds were down 22%. The listings were down 28%, and that's okay. But price was up 7% at an average of $390,000. Now, of that, what I want to tell you, though, is that in the month of June, if I can get this thing out of my eye, it's called my finger, 57% of the offers that were accepted, of every property was closed, of all the properties that were closed, 32 to 56 had competing offers. 4 of them were cash offers and of those 4 cash offers, there were 3 competing offers. 1 of them wasn't. That's opportunity in my book. 3 FHA, 3 competing offers. Get this, 2 VA offers, no competition.
Really?
Really?
Well,
I know, right?
okay.
And in 43 conventional financing with 24 competing offers. So, and it's not all about competing offers, just you need to be aware that they're still out there. Now, if you're a seller, why is this important to you? Because not everybody got the house they wanted. So they're still looking, and it shows you with those competing offers that of that 57%, half of that is still looking for a home, or could be looking for a home. There were 2 new construction, of course, no competing offers, conventional financing. Their average square footage was $271 a square foot for new construction. So now let's talk about price range. Price range is important on this because if you're buying a house between $200 and $299, the average over price, is 6.8%. Or $17,000. The highest was 19% at $57,000 over the asking price. That scares me. That just it makes me go, what?
Mm-hmm.
Why? I just feel like it wasn't priced correctly. In that $300 to $399 price range, you're on average paying 8% over asking. Now this is average. That doesn't mean every house is like that. So 8% is $27,000 over. The highest was 15% at $57,000. If you're in that $400 to $499, this is when things start to calm down a little bit. Mm-hmm. You're at 3.6% or $15,000 over. The highest was $21,000 at $90,000 over the asking price.
Oh, gosh.
That means it wasn't priced correctly. It wasn't priced correctly.
That's insane.
And then $500 to $599, and I stopped at $599 because we didn't have anything sold higher than that. They were selling at 3% over, $16,000 on average. The highest was 10% or $54,000 over. So what this says to you is this. If I break this down and I know this, does your agent know this? Does your agent in the way of the selling side or buying side? If it's the selling side, are you getting the maximum dollars? Is it priced correctly? And don't tell me you got 20 offers. I don't care if you get 20 offers, 10 offers, 50,000 offers. All I need is one that makes the numbers work for you and what you're expecting out there. But I'm showing you that, and I'll guarantee you that 99% of the agents out there have no clue what I just did because they don't take the time to do this.
They don't look at the numbers, really?
They don't. They'll go in when they need to look at the numbers. So yesterday, you and I, we're working with Eleanor and looking at a house, and I looked at the numbers, came in, and I said, this house is priced at market. This is a house that you need to write an offer on right away. You know, I was able to tell her that because I knew my numbers.
And because you have a buyer agency agreement with her.
Correct. And I'm able to tell her that.
Yes.
Yes. If I don't have that buyer agency, agreement. I can't give you a price. All I can say is you need to put your highest and best offer forward.
That's what everybody says.
I know.
But what does that mean, really?
That-
You need to know what that means to the seller.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
it doesn't mean the same thing.
No.
You have to look for ways to stand out, and you need to be working with a realtor that understands that.
Right. And don't get me wrong, folks. If you're listening to this, this isn't trying to get you to use me as a real estate agent. I'm just trying to help you help yourself with the person that you're working with. Now, if it doesn't work, I'm happy to answer questions. Laura and I both do this all the time. In fact, this past week, and Terry says, why do you do this? I had 2 people wanted to know the value of their homes, but they're not going to use me. They were just double checking their agent. And I'm like, oh, and she's like, why are you doing that?
It's a valid question. Why?
Because it's not always about the money. It's about helping people. And when I heard one of them was MHB and was charging $500 up front just to get a price.
Are they really doing that? I saw that.
You saw?
I did see that, now that you say that.
And so I worked with her.
Can they do, I guess they
can do anything they want. Right.
Well, here's my thought on that. If you don't trust the numbers that your agent gave you, why? Why are you reaching out for another opinion? And don't automatically tell yourself you're not going to work with the other person. You just want to double check the numbers. Maybe open your mind and check with more than one. I always say that, whether it's a realtor, a lender, whatever you're shopping for, not even a house. Do your research. Find out. You're going to uncover things that other people might do for you or might be able to offer you that you didn't even know about. Don't be closed-minded. Be open-minded. You have a lot to gain from that.
Exactly. Like I said, it's not always about the money. It's about helping people buy and sell homes. And that's the whole premise of this show.
You are spending your time, though, running numbers and helping people.
Oh, sure.
And you don't get paid.
No.
Unless you sell a house.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I just think it's important to note that. Realtors do not get paid.
No.
So the free advice, the numbers that he's spending running for you, he's doing that for free, literally. Time you could be spending on who knows what else, but you're doing it to help people.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And I enjoy it. I enjoy helping people. That's why we do this show. I mean, it's about educating you and giving you the information that you need in order to go and buy, sell, or invest in real estate. And it should be enjoyable. It should be fun. It's stressful, but we can lessen that stress as much as possible.
Yeah.
You know, we really enjoy talking with you folks, and I love seeing you out at Buck and Honey's or wherever. And like I said, answering your questions, man, I'll be the first one to jump up and raise my hand. And I'm happy to help you. There's no obligation at all, and I know Laura's the same way. Not every lender out there is the same. It's not a cookie cutter. And if you want the best, you've got one sitting across from me right here in Laura Stanfield from Wintrust. So Sun Prairie, thanks for everything that you do. Thanks for supporting us. And to my clients out there, thank you for believing in me. And I'm glad I was able to help you fulfill your dreams. And so we'll see you next Wednesday right here at 11 o'clock, right on here on 103.5 WLSP The Sun. Bye, Sun Prairie.
Have a great Wednesday.
I know, I like that song too. Facebook, see you later.
Bye, Facebook.
Studio 2, please.